course here as a student.
What was that like?
1965, God help us, taught by Henry, and ever thereafter was part of his entourage. And I think the thing that struck me most about him was this strategic acumen. That is the ability to take a problem and lift it up to its whole 360 degrees of strategic challenge, and then find the points at which the policy process could be impacted. And I wrote about, for his 100th birthday, we each asked to write a little, something. Eric wrote something, I wrote something. And I said, really thinking about Henry, he was not about, if you think about, he was often criticized for his realism or ruthless realism or realpolitik. But if you look and see what he was doing, it wasn't raw realpolitik just for the advancement of the interests of one country. It was always about the construction of a viable order to prevent catastrophic war. He had lived through the experience of the Holocaust and the most deadly war in history. He foresaw the prospect of a nuclear war that could actually extinguish life on Earth. He was caught up in the Cold War, the fiercest rivalry that we'd seen to that point between the US and the Soviet Union. And all the time he was trying to reach beyond that to some way to survive for both the US and for fellow human beings. So I think that's how he kind of backed into the AI issue, which for him was another generation of a somewhat analogous problem.
Well, he had written his undergraduate thesis on Kant and the meaning of meaning, essentially. And he was when he went to hear Demis speak, he immediately got it. And he immediately said to himself, what does this mean to being human? And we are today grappling with the question that he foresaw 20 years ago when we first started working on this. What does it mean to be human in the age of AI? What does it mean to be a child, to an adult, to be a leader? What does it mean for economics? What does it mean for jobs? All of that. But his core argument was that this is an epochal change in the sense that it's like the various major changes that we've had in sort of reasoning, the scientific revolution and so forth, because we as humans have never had a competitor that is not human, but of similar or greater level of intelligence. And it is unpredictable what we human will do. He used to say that what would happen is in magic, when people don't understand things, they either decide that it's a new religion or they take up arms. And so he would say, well, are we going to take up arms to AI or are we going to make it a new religion? And I said, I hope it's a religion. Because of course, I benefit from the religion, I guess.
So in the book that was published this time last year called Genesis, which was the work that Eric and Henry and Craig Bundy was doing up to the point at which he passed, here's a passage that clearly Henry wrote. It says, quote, talking about the US and China, if each wishes to maximize its unilateral position in the AI space, then the conditions would be such for a contest between rival military forces and intelligence agencies, the likes of which humanity has never faced before. Today, in the weeks and months and days leading up to the arrival of the first superintelligence, a security dilemma of existential nature awaits us. So you've thought about this superintelligence as an existential threat beyond what we can imagine. Say more. Yeah.
Well, there's something which I call the San Francisco consensus. And the reason I call it the San Francisco consensus is everyone in San Francisco believes this. It may or may not be true, but if you go to San Francisco, trust me, that's what they're doing besides the usual San Francisco recreational behaviors. And the basic build goes that we've gone through a language revolution. You understand that, language to language, ChatGPT, everybody here knows what that is. Agents, which are now on the horizon, and these agents allow you to essentially automate tasks. And the key thing to understand about agents is they can be concatenated. So you can, do this and this and this and this and this, and then they all get piped together. Why am I talking about agents? Because I've just described workflow. And that's what businesses do, what universities do, what governments do, so forth and so on. And then the next one is reasoning. Now, reasoning is higher order function in humans.